Hello, and thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation. My name is Matthew Coe, and this is my final presentation for the data visualization class. So this project, I will be talking about COVID-19. So let's get started. So the purpose of this project is that I was hired by the Prime Minister of Canada as a consultant to analyze COVID-19 data to determine if the measures within Canada are effective, not effective, or we need to increase the measures. And the overall question is, when should we call the end of the pandemic? So the following core messages are the three options that I was given to choose from, and based on my analysis, determine which message I will be going with. So the three options that I had were: the current measures are effective and should be kept until the WHO officially ends the global pandemic. The current measures are not effective and significant change is required to improve population health and to ease the burden of those measures on population and the economy. Or the current measures are not necessary since both the vaccination rate and the herd immunity in Canada is very high. So after looking at the data and doing a deep dive into the data, the option that I chose was that from my analysis of the data, I believe the current measures are not effective and significant change is required to improve population health and to ease the burden of those measures on the population and the economy. Essentially, I believe we're not doing enough and we need to act immediately to end the pandemic. So the approach that I took was a quantitative approach. I did it basically, my whole approach is to just look at the numbers and determine what the numbers are telling me. So the following sources are the ones that I use for my data analytics. So it was the Ontario Data Catalog, the Government of Canada COVID-19, and our World of Data. So after looking at these three data sets, I grabbed the most effective data. I cleansed that data, and then I grabbed all that data and modeled it together to prepare for the data visualization. So the summary of my argument is that the current measures are not enough, and then we need to increase our measures because there's mutations and the vaccines are becoming less and less effective, and what we're doing is not enough to combat COVID-19. So my first argument is that I looked at all the cases and our data, and as we can see, that the cases are going up and down with no end in sight. So every time we implement new measures, the COVID cases go down, and every time we relax those measures, they go right back up. So unless we continue to be strict with measures or increase measures, we will continue to see this trend until no end. As we can see, the variances keep on coming, and we would all like to end this pandemic as soon as possible. So we need to increase these measures. The second argument is that even though we have a very high vaccination rate in Canada, the cases are not ending, and this is because of the new variants. So even if we continue with the vaccination rate and try for herd immunity, there's still going to be places in the world that are going to continue to spread this virus, and we won't see an end even with the vaccine measures. So we need other measures as well to completely end this pandemic. So my third argument here is that you can see from the graph, this is the total world population and the vaccination rate of the entire world. So comparing that to Canada, where we have an 80% vaccination rate, we only have a 50% vaccination rate worldwide. And that is because the richer countries are hoarding all of the vaccines, and this is making the other countries not be able to get any. And as such, since they can't get vaccinated, the virus continues to spread and new variants are emerging, which then spread to our country as well and eliminates the value of the vaccinations in total. So I believe Canada should have more strict measures from a social aspect, more social distancing, closing down businesses, and different measures. While we, instead of using our vaccines to vaccinate ourselves, we need to vaccinate the poorer countries to stop these variants from happening. So, based on these three arguments, my result, conclusion, and recommendation is that we need to increase measures. And some of those measures could be such as things that are happening right now, such as the companies. One of the biggest things that has stopped the spread of the COVID-19 is companies allowing their workers to work from home. And as we continue with this pandemic, companies are starting to ask their employees to come back. And if employees start coming back, the virus is going to spread very, very rapidly. So, although companies have been acting in good faith and allowing their employees to work from home, I think it should be mandated that all companies that are capable of doing such should allow their workers to work from home. I believe that non-essential establishments should be not allowed to operate at all, such as bars and concerts. Anywhere where there's lots of people, they should not be allowed to operate, even if it's at a social distance level, because as we can see, that it's not being effective enough. So, lastly, I believe that vaccinations should be prioritized in places where the spread is the most, such as poorer countries such as South Africa, where the new variant has arisen. And if we don't do that, it's just going to continue to mutate, and we will never see the end of this pandemic. And that's the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I learned a lot about COVID-19 and how to end this pandemic. So I hope you learned from my presentation, and thank you very much.